full day. We have an hour. If I might take a little bit more time, is that okay?
We're good. You take as much time as you need.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Go.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're green with me or not, good to meet you. Yeah, I shaved all my hair. I'm in a very exciting period in my life. I'm now, I just finished a 21-day process of the breatharian process, in case you have ever heard of that. It is basically studying how to get your body into a state, a prana state, to live less on food and more on prana, more on life force energy. And of course, this interests me because my life work is frequency, and so to live as close to the quantum field as possible is, of course, always something beautiful to aspire. So yeah, today I am going to share with you something exciting. I'm going to share with you my life work of what I actually do in a little bit in theory and some of it in experience. So eventually I will send you some frequencies that I created myself that have to do with the material I'm about to share with you. But before that, let's talk about something else I just launched. It's the School's Essentials on my website. So I was thinking these last few months, you know, if you would just have a few programs and you would like to have an awesome first aid kit in your pocket, in your Healy, then what do these 5 programs need to contain? That's the theme of the Essentials. And so I created 5 programs for some acute situations. It's more like whenever distress or discomfort, dis-ease shows up, these 5 programs can always do something for you. And one of them is mineral grounding. If maybe you've already seen it combine the nourishment protocol. The other one is overall clear. It's a short 20-minute program, but it's a brilliant energetic. It takes away energetic disturbances and physical disturbances if you use the wristbands. So that's a general alignment type of idea. And on my website, you will read in what type of situations you can apply these programs. And third is blood and infections. You can literally apply this to so many situations. Also post-COVID or during any infection. Then we have endocrine balance for whenever you have a strange energy shift, emotional imbalance, or like a moody type of thing. And finally, the no, I lost it there. What is the last one? Oh yeah, inflammation and pain, of course. Of course, inflammation and pain. That should speak by itself, because 90 or 95% of all issues we know, inflammation is always part of it. So feel free to have a look at that on my website. And now we're going to dive into something that is of a long shot, and you will be the first for me to share it with you. I'm going to launch this on my website in the next couple of days. And what I'm about to share with you in the next hour, it's going to be a lot. So I hope I won't kill your brains too much. You will all keep them together. It is okay if you eventually lose track with writing things down. Feel free to watch back the video, but eventually I will make separate little videos for on the website. And there's text waiting you on the website for the full explanation. But what is this? It's basically, I wrote a book about the dimensional structure of the universe found in the human anatomy. This is what I use on my clients when I give them a full body scan. I can accurately see how each body system is dysfunctioning in their frequency, in their harmony, and how the human experience is compromised. So this is a very unique bio-spiritual activation, only for Healy users. It is a bioelectric initiation, you could say, and it's about the 9 dimensions of the universe found in our human anatomy. So imagine that if you would stimulate physical structures, any organ or a fluid in the body that has with a frequency, you will also make touch with the dimension that created it. Now, we have been created by the universe by layers of the dimensions. We exist out of layers of fluids and out of different compartments of organ systems, or whatever you would call it. So in order to now, if you have frequencies stimulating these organs, you can go back to sort of the blueprint of health and the original intent and the highest values of that what we're here to be and exist. So this is about eventually going to the original intent behind a human existence. So if you've ever considered the bio-spiritual meaning behind your blood tissue, for instance, behind the cerebrospinal fluid or your extracellular matrix, or if you would like to know how your cells get their cosmic energy, all of these things I wrote down in text, and only for Healy users, you can get the experience out of it, because you don't just have to read the book with your eyes and your mind. You can now feel it and slowly get every layer of you into the experience. I hope that makes sense, because it's actually very exciting. So what is the purpose of this? Well, this is invoking health from its higher aspects. We are self-organizing plasma fluid fields, and we bring them back into self-organization. This is increasing the body-mind-spirit connection through understanding the quantum anatomy. It is, and eventually it will bring also more joy and contemplation, hopefully, because we bring in the frequencies. Yeah. Now, of course, this is not a highway to heaven, but just a friendly reminder of source. This is, I hope it would have been, but sorry, it's not. No. This is also not an activation series with promises of healing or transformation, but you will always get what you need and accept what you can accept at the moment. This is also not a powerful boost for your high energies, but a subtle energy work that will invite you to contemplate deeply. This is also not an ungrounded practice where I sell you another DNA meditation with a beautiful visualization, but an intentional meditation focused on experiential learning and deepening the connection with your soul and source. So this is basically for all of you people, because I'm very sure you're quite ready for these steps. Is there anything before I continue? Is this clear?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah? Okay, good. Sometimes I ask, is this clear? You just raise your hand and I know most of you are on the boat. Good, let's start with the 9 dimensions. And as if you're curious, how do I get this knowledge? Well, I am 90% autodidact. It is my own knowledge, but Keylontic science is where I got some of the structures. So Keylontic, just like key, Keylontic, Keylontic science. They have beautiful dimensional anatomical structures, but I just seen it in a different way. So the idea is the universe is created out of a base 12 code. There are at least 12 dimensions, probably more. But in the first 9, you find the most important things about human experience. So we're going to start with the first program I created. It's Body Density 3, which is dimensions 9, 8, and 7. Why do we start there? Because Source created itself downward, right? It started with 12, and then it created itself downward all the way to 1. So we start with 9. Now, this third body density level is about your God self. You are God, we are God, and you have your own quantum computer in the center of your brain. It is creating the reality of your human experience. Everything is a thought form, okay? Quantum means thought. Quantum field means reality is a thought form. So here in this level, you will find your ancestral, past life, and karmic information. It is all stored in your DNA. And the most important picture to depict on dimension 9 is a void, a black hole. If you follow the black hole down to its center, it becomes a white hole. So you have black holes and white holes harmonically living together, and they're always one. It is through this implosive force that we all have is where we neutralize our disturbances and where we all know the meditative state, right? It's the most natural state. And in that state, we are a programmer of our own reality. Yeah, that's just where it starts. So the purpose of this body density 3 with these 3 dimensions is to master this implosive force, to be able to neutralize all the disturbances in your DNA, for then optimal charge to distribute through your energy field, through your nervous system. Nervous system has electricity. What is the most optimal charge of electricity in the universe for you? Akashic memory information. Okay, yes, you got it. I saw you thinking that's true. That's the 8th. And then the 7th brings something very unique. It is increasing the ability to level up in consciousness through joy, happiness, and bliss. 3 words. Yeah. 3 words that should not need explanation. You all have your own explanation of it, but this is the only highway to heaven. Joy, happiness, and bliss, and nothing else. So when there's a system failure on these levels, the person might experience deep ancestral blockages and entity attachments, an inability to know how true joy and happiness can be integrated, seeing itself as the victim trapped in a loop, dark clouds hanging over his or her head, etc., etc. But these are spiritual things that can bother you. So I created a list of, I created for each dimension, I created the frequencies. And so in this, the first program with 3 dimensions, with all the anatomical relationships put in, dimension 9 has some interesting frequencies. So for instance, dimension 9 is about all the gray matter of nervous tissue you have in your body, spinal cord, and the outside of your brain. It also has the central point of your brain, the center of your brain, the thalamus. It's a galactic gate, but on the other hand, it is known as a sensory relay system. That's basically the quantum computing core of your God self. And the hypothalamus. Those 2 are basically organs, glands. These are just central computers, hardware systems that are related to the 9th dimension. Okay. Energetically, as I said, it's the implosion field you find in 3 spots. That's why the 3 Danchens come into place. The implosion field in the gut, the heart, and the head space. And this is where we neutralize negative thought forms. Correct. So let's go to the eighth. The eighth is, so I told you the color of 9. It is black hole, white hole, black hole, white hole. The eighth is gold, to pale gold, and that's our nervous system. Everything that has to do with electricity. And this is the white matter of the brain and the spinal cord, okay? And all the nervous tissue in your body. It is there to distribute electrical intelligence, highest electrical intelligence again, Akashic energy. And the purpose of this is to connect you, your soul energy, with the earth shield, with the galactic shield. And it is our mental ability that we have to develop in order to find electrical disturbances within ourselves. These are one of the frequencies I included in this program. It is, for instance, 984 hertz that does that. 2864 hertz is helping you to release and relieve congestive information, electrical field of the penetrating forces that have been entering your field. And eventually the gold is often associated with a nice protective sheath around you. This is of course true, it's electrical in nature. Okay, so let's go to the next one, the dimension 7. That is violet and ultraviolet in color. This is a very interesting one because the fluid in the body that is the highest conductive fluid is cerebrospinal fluid. If you would literally tap it from the body, it looks like diamond water with a little yellowish color. This fluid, this side basically determines, apart from its other physiological functions, it determines what levels of consciousness you are able to integrate and to circulate through your system. This fluid is connected in frequency to all your cells in your body that know how to produce energy. Cellular respiration happens mainly around the mitochondria, which create their own energy in a single wavelength called a longitudinal wavelength, which comes in a ultraviolet light spectrum. This is science, ladies and gentlemen. This is profound because this ultraviolet light spectrum starts to increase more and more when you integrate the 7th dimension, which is all around joy, bliss, and happiness. The 7th dimension you can see and feel on a person because it is the indication for soul embedding, the auric presence of a person. If it's a small aura, you know, okay, this soul has trouble incarnating. Simple as that. When it's a big aura, you know, I don't know what this person is doing, but his soul really likes this human existence. Simple as that. The gland connected to this dimension is the pineal gland. The gland connected to the 8th dimension is the thymus gland. And I already told you the other glands, the hypothalamus and the thalamus for the dimension 9. So with these programs, you will get a nice meditation instruction. It is recommended to start with this first program, the body density 3, because again, we have to work our way down. Are there any small questions now? Small ones?
We're glad we're recording it so we can keep going over it.
Yeah.
I think we just need to observe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're still with me? Still good? Good. Then we continue. Beautiful. So then we go to this first body density 3 was the mental plane of existence to generalize it. Now we go to the emotional plane. And imagine, of all living organisms, we humans bring something unique to the table. We can freely choose who to be and how to live. We are walking liquid crystals with sophisticated engines of consciousness, maintaining its own balance through morphogenetic magnetic fields, circulatory body fluids, and the vibratory resonance state. As we live in a universe filled with electricity, we need our emotional fields to be free of turmoil, disturbance, and incoherences. Because otherwise we have too much friction, our fields collapse, and we lose our sense of vital force. So all dysfunctions and ailments we find in this field, literally all pathological patterns, because everything is thought-based. And so what is the essence behind this field? Okay, it's about your emotional environment of your health and the correct vibrational rate to keep you on the timeline of your purpose. Yeah, multidimensional universe means multidimensional timelines, and there's one preferable for you. It comes from 5D. It's a sort of a future self kind of thing, but that's how you keep your abundance frequency high. So these 3 levels are about gaining coherence, empathy, and integrity of your physical, emotional, and mental fields. There's an optimal organization of all fluids flowing in harmony and full circle, and they need to be revitalized with love, with life. They need to be transformed from their impurities. So your joy and bliss can have an everlasting presence through that. And this is what I call sovereignty. Imagine, your sovereignty and your freedom as a soul on this earth plane can then be claimed in experience. This is, GSF, God's sovereign free soul living. I really resonate with that idea of, it has all to do with the frequency of compassion and the law of one. It is the extension of what I'm explaining here from the quantum anatomy, but I'm giving it you for free, so you can play with that thought. So to maintain emotional coherence for health and integrity comes from the 6th. Okay, it's your magnetic fields. To keep the extracellular matrix environment of the physical and emotional body in its correct vibratory state for energy and vitality is the 5th. Okay, 5th dimension. The free flow of all vital fluids from its source to the rest of the anatomy is the 4th. So this is your heart, between the heart and the lungs to the rest of the body, between the liver and the intestines of the lymph is to the rest of the body is 2 circulatory systems going into an 8 like this, and it's actually the same system. It's just different functions. One of them revitalizes everything, and one of them cleans everything, and they need to be in coherence with each other. So D6 is the color indigo, pale indigo. And what is this about? As I said, your magnetic field around you, which has a toroidal shape. If I would grab it like this and I would push it in, then it should bounce back immediately. Some people, they have a weak system, so it goes like jelly, like ugh. Some people hardly have one, and that's why they're so influential, you know? When there's a system failure on these levels, people cannot feel empathy, compassion, they are haunted by the past, easily manipulated, and they feel like a prisoner of the world. So we need to have this mental ability to change magnetic field disturbances, because otherwise we become too dense. So what is magnetic in your body? If you look at fluids, it's your blood. Why is it magnetic? Because it has an iron core. So this is about your blood and your vascular system. Where is your blood made? Bone marrow, the bones and the bone marrow. How is your blood made? Well, actually, we don't really know the truth behind that, but the iron core is very important. The pituitary gland is the gland of D6. It governs all the, it it keeps an oversight as if it's an eye. And yeah, just to keep it simple for D6, let's see if there's another interesting frequency here. Yeah, oh yeah, this one I like, because, okay, 1934 hertz is preparing the bone marrow for optimal hydrogen spin density. Because if you go and dive into some mythologies and you even read the Bible and you read about Jesus, they talk about a sort of a fire in the blood, and that's the secret behind the enlightenment process. So the fire in the blood, that's the frequency there. Okay, D5, color blue, of course. Blue to pale blue. In D5 is big, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what to. The organs are simple. It is lungs and large intestine. But there's one very important element connected to this. It is called, this is a molecular formula, not H2O, it is H3O2. What happens if you grab a bunch of H2O molecules and you put them like this on top of each other? You get then not H2O, you get H3O2. And this is the reality of the body. All these H2O molecules on top of each other, stacked upon it, fitting perfectly like a puzzle. And so you have the fourth state of water, a gel state of water. It's like a gel. We are like a gel, and this makes us a liquid crystal. That makes us distribute intelligence for life to happen. And all it needs is your joy and bliss to keep its correct vibratory state, so it can expand and not withdraw all the water, so you dehydrate. It cannot, it will suck tissue with it, so your intestines start to have these distortions. You will have all these types of problems, but it's very simple. It wants to maintain the vital force. So what else keeps this healthy tension in the body for expansion and retraction is the diaphragms, of course. If they are not organs, I don't know what to call them. This is the center of your tensegrity model in the body, how it keeps the healthy tension in place. Thyroid gland is, of course, 5D reality. And yeah, that's the fifth. Now, D4, and then let's see if there are questions. So D4 is all the fluids I talked about. It was the heart and the circulatory vascular flow to the lungs, from the lungs to the rest of the body. The liver and the lymph. All the lymphatic tissue, all the lymphatic associated tissue, which is mucus, salivary glands, tonsils, the I don't know how you call it in English, but it's the gut associated lymphatic tissue, the plaques from Peyer, it's something else. But yeah, it's but then you also have the lymph nodes and the lymph ducts. That is all number 4, dimension 4. And it's the lungs are also associated, but it's actually the mucous membrane in the lungs, how the lungs clean themselves out. Yeah. And yeah, that is dimension 4. So this was the second density body. Any questions?
Yeah.
Do we still have energy for the last one?
Wait, Celine has a, hold on, we have a question.
Sorry. Yeah.
You talked about the lungs, but you said you didn't know the word. It was like the mucus body or the something.
What was the word that you didn't know? What did you use for the mucus body? Or
The flux from Peyer, it's the gut associated lymphatic tissue. It is often at the end of the ileum before it goes into the large intestine. Around that area in the in the gut, sorry, the intestinal wall, you find lymphoid tissue specialized in targeting pathogenic substances in your food.
Okay.
Yeah? Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Pathogenic.
That's why if that's in dysfunction, people get appendicitis because it's directly associated with the appendix. There's so much lymphoid tissue happening there or situated there. It's all around 4. So you see with 4, it's all about how do you digest your old baggage, luggage, trash, all, from the past, even your ancestral patterns. How do you digest them? Is your lymph sitting there, waiting, doing nothing? Is it lazy? Is it doing too much? Is it doing too less? Is it just dirty? And is it fed up with everything? Yeah.
So I have a question. If you have
Yeah.
appendix out, if your appendix is out, does that is what affects the digestion?
If your appendix.
Can you repeat
is
that?
out- Yeah, she's asking if you have your appendix out, does that affect the digestion?
Good question. The body is very brilliant in always dealing and adapting to new situations. But there's something that it influences in the microbiome, you will digest in different ways because the lymphatic system is very big. So it's a yes and a no. Yeah, it's a yes and a no. Okay, so before, yeah, sorry.
We're good.
Good.
We're good.
Yep.
Okay. So before we continue to the last one, would you guys be interested in existential fears around these dimensions?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because the moment, the reason why it's so interesting, because the moment you have a fear frequency in your dimension, it blocks all these systems that I talked about, right? For dimension 4, for instance, you have that fear frequency, your lymph, your circulatory system is compromised in some way, for instance, it can influence it. So for D6, it is the fear of losing control and being controlled, generalized. Okay? Being bothered by your own troubled, being troubled by your own thoughts. It has different phases, but then D5 is the fear of disappointment. And when all joy dies away, people are afraid of boredom in life. Now keep in mind, the soul doesn't fear death. It fears things that you can get stuck in for the rest of your existence. So these existential fears are going much deeper. They go beyond death. So for number 4, this is the biggest fear of the heart, is the fear of abandonment.
Mhm.
Yeah, and try to, yeah,
Abandonment.
abandonment, yeah. Whether you're being left alone and abandoned by your family, your friends, co-workers, or the collective, it is being left deprived. This is where the liver comes in. The liver biggest fear is the fear of deprivation, starvation. So that being void of love, that's fear of abandonment. That is a big one for all of us, and that's where the biggest healing of our heart works. So for D9, it is an historical one. It is like the fear of your own junk DNA information field, and and being afraid of the darkness. I mean, how classical is that? Let me tell you, darkness is older than light. It is wiser than light. It has all your information stored in it, the void, this implosive field. But we became afraid of it because of the break in dimension, the fall from the Garden of Eden. It's a big collective story. So the dimension 8 has the fear of entrapment, and being imprisoned can have many different faces, you know, being entangled, you know, that there are many attachments onto you, that you are constricted into something, that you are contracted onto something. Contracts, soul contracts, all dimension 8. And dimension 7 is the fear of losing oneself. Because believe it or not, when higher levels of consciousness show themselves, the fear of losing yourself in it almost feels like the fear of death. And only when you mature and you grow in the higher frequencies, in hindsight, you can say, oh yeah, definitely some old part of me died back there, but it's only a good thing, you know? It's when you look ahead where sometimes the fear kicks in, oh, I don't know if this new development is good for me, but okay. So are we ready for the last body density?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We're almost there. So imagine all organic life on Earth thanks its existence to the environmental, microbial, and energetic health of the soil. The soil is about the water, earth, air, and fire elements working in synergy to promote life forces to exert their energies. The quality of your thoughts, emotions, and physical health and spiritual growth find their foundations in your own soil that has its developmental history in these 3 dimensions. The water of life is the primal intelligence behind the health of your foundations, and it's only up to you to keep it clear or troubled. Yeah, this is just simple, the health choices we have every day. This is we all know this. So in the physical reality, it gets even more simple. It is just governing, it's just keeping the soil healthy to have a healthy human experience. So to gain clarity, and this will help you to gain clarity about yourself. It will give you a clear direction in life and relationship with the physical plane. And it's a question like how to invest my radiant life force genius. Sorry, long words, but you are radiant, you have life force, you are genius. How to use it, how to invest it? Well, keep your physicality regulated and maintain the happy belly microbiome. That's all it needs. Finally, the nourishing water of life comes from the original intent from source. It manages heat, inflammation perfectly. It cools pain perfectly. And it gives a solid feeling of reality. Everyone in these dimensions can become their own superhero archetype, because this superhero archetype is something all we need to maintain in order to show up to situations, to show up to life, to show up to yourself. It's the pancreas that will embody that for you, but I will come back to that later. So when all the water in your blood plasma becomes clear and clean, all your worries, congested memories, and insecurities will surface to be evaporated. When there's a system failure on these levels, the person experiences regular brain fog, authority issues, personal insecurities, worried mind, unstable thinking, ungroundedness, unbalanced heat, warmth distribution, and of course, feeling frustrated. The list is long because it's just the consequence of not being healthy physically. Okay, so D3, dimension 3, the organs are liver, gallbladder, it's your solar plexus region, and the pancreas as the central gland, keeping the most important focus field of the superhero archetype. But imagine this, you have blood plasma in your body. So of all the blood that you have, 55% of that is blood plasma. If you look at it, it looks like water. It should look like water, clear as water. It contains 95% water. And so this water, it is our job to keep it clear and clean. And that is, if you look at a diet, then often the vegan diet keeps it clear and clean mostly. Otherwise, you will develop a fear of being lost and confused. It will take away the direction in your life. You will become vulnerable to manipulation from the outside, where either a father figure would trying to give you directions and stuff. And you would constantly need confirmations from the environment. That is D3 dysfunction. So then we go to D2. Now, dimension 2 is your stomach and duodenum. This is one small system. Stomach, small intestine starts with duodenum. The spleen is behind the stomach. So it has a lot of this earth element. It's the microbiome and the inside of the intestinal wall. It's literally like soil and the plants on it. If the microbiome, the probiotics that live in your intestinal wall are plants, they have their roots in a little bit of soil, and that is the complete system of the microbiome. So they make up the happy belly effect. Now, the glands, the adrenal glands, they are like singulars. When we are in distress or we have a lot of stress in our life, the adrenal glands get over excited, and that's basically them just noticing there are things happening in the system. There's too much information, and things are not well regulated. So this dimension 2 is all about regulation. Now, the fear of dimension 2 is an interesting one. We all know this collectively. I call it the fear of losing your aliveness, but it is related to the fear of losing weight or gaining weight. Imagine that so many people, they look at themselves in the mirror and they measure their sense of aliveness to how they look. And so this is where we create such an important illusion and an immediate earth element dysfunction in ourselves. That's just where it starts. I mean, I don't know where to start in this, but we are here to be happy and alive. And we look in the mirror and we say, well, I'm not happy and alive because look at that. That's a little bit too much fat. Look at that ass. Look at this. Look at, no, it is so simple. You should feel alive, period.
Yes.
You guys know it. Feel alive, period, because that sensation will create the optimal body mass anyway. That frequency. Okay, so this frequency you will find in the program. Yeah. So then the final dimension is just one frequency. Every dimension has exactly the amount of frequencies that the dimension has a number. So dimension 1 has just one frequency, 2,345 hertz. It is to allow and embrace the original intent behind creation and human existence for the water of life to flow. Now, to tell you an interesting insight as I'm going through this breatharian process with only liquids, only the water of life, I'm getting into a perfect sense of how my body is becoming water and living close to the water of life. Because apart from the fact that this dimension has the kidneys and the bladder, and for women also the womb, good to know, you have the bladder and the womb, and they are one moving unit. The womb follows the bladder, okay? So when you have something in your womb, look at your bladder. Something in your bladder, keep your womb in check. It makes sense that you also have menstrual pains if you have a lot of, like often a cystitis going on. The dimension 1 controls the genitals. For the men also the prostate. It is the hip region. It's a whole energy field. And it's connected to the earth portal. Fibrinogen, the main component of collagen, which you find everywhere in the body. It is a component, a protein that is signaling inflammatory heat activities. Now imagine this, I'm on this breatharian diet right now, and whatever 0 degrees river I jump in, like it's really darn cold, I don't feel the cold. I never get cold, and there's no inflammation in my body. I can feel it because I'm an osteopath. I can measure it. I have a Healy, I have a time waver. There is a perfect distribution of heat, because when you manage heat perfectly, the water of life just comes out of nowhere, out of the 0 point. It is so easy if you look at it. We don't have to do anything to live, to be water, and to live close to spirit. So what is the fear of dimension 1? It is the fear of a painful existence. Now, this is where I find the hardest time with some clients to help them, because if they're in chronic pain, and addiction is also one of them, it is hard to help them, because there are so many thought forms created around the painful existence. They can only get themselves out, and pain makes life harder. If you would know that all of your life, that pain would never stop in your life, would you still want to live? You know, for me, I can imagine it is hard to make the decision. So, but this is also the pattern where all the things that scared you in life when you were young, for instance, and you would like to rather run away from, like a relationship, you know, a commitment, cleaning up your house, a healthy lifestyle, dealing with the past, going for a house, or just keeping your body fit. The moment it gets hot and real, you might tap out because you think it's going to be painful. You want to be free, you want to be like water, but no, you will actually end up with a feeling of ungroundedness and unresolved traumas. And yeah, so water and fire element is some actually of a mystery, but hereby it is demystified, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely demystified to how that works. That was it. Are we still alive?
That was amazing.
That was
amazing. Wow. Wow. Good.
Yeah. You have a nice recording ahead of you to watch it again, but no worries. I'm going to launch this in the next couple of days on my website. See this as a book, right? It is something, have